I finished the first draft of a book with no structure, and now I need to rewrite it. Hello, and welcome to my Creativity Corner. My name is Meredith, and I'm starting a YouTube channel. YouTube is the best place to find people doing like-minded things, people giving advice, people putting their lives out there, saying, I'm doing something hard, do you want to watch? And do you want to try it too? And it's just so exciting for me to start this. I've been writing for a while, ever since I was little, and I've never finished anything before, but I've written pretty seriously a couple of big projects, one of which was in college and the others were in high school. When the pandemic started, I decided I needed a pandemic project. Yep, it was this book, and it didn't go very far. I tried planning, I tried plotting. I didn't know anything, and so I just didn't have the tools to do that. And eventually I decided that it would never get written if I didn't start. So that's what I did. I just wrote. And I wrote 30,000 words, and then it kind of crashed and burned. I went back to it just last September. I took the scene that was most interesting to me and I started writing it because I had to get back into writing somehow. This pandemic had stretched for too long, and my pandemic project was going nowhere. And I'd also graduated college and gotten married and moved twice in the time since I hung up that project and decided I wanted to start it again. And so a lot had changed. Life was very stable, and I thought, okay, it's time. I can do this now. I have the space, I have a steady job, and it's time for me to write. So I started writing, and I wrote from the middle, which was that scene I was really excited about because it had a very high emotional payoff. And I wrote from the middle to the end, and then started from the beginning and wrote to the middle. And I did this in 6 months, and the book is 214,000 words long. Basically unpublishable by length alone and by many other standards. It's something that is really dear to me and I think is a beautiful story. The problem is it doesn't have a cohesive central conflict or theme, but I do love the characters and I love what they go through. Unfortunately, it's not novel material. It had to be done for me. I had to learn and understand why it wasn't working, and to clearly see that without these kind of ups and downs of story, the story falls kind of flat. Even with really wonderful emotions and friendships, if you don't have the arc that goes up and then down and then back up again, then you don't really have much of a payoff at the end for the reader. And yes, it's sweet and it's charming, but it's not the story that can be published and people fall in love with. Since I finished the draft on March 6th of this year, I have crammed my head full of craft videos, writing craft videos to be specific, although you never know with me, but writing craft videos of structure and character development and world building and every other topic possible. It almost feels like I've run out of topics. I know that I haven't. I have learned these things from audio, but I haven't necessarily mastered them or put them into practice yet. And so that's what I'm currently doing, is revising a plan to rewrite this draft that is unsalvageable, but very charming. It's something I'm honestly really glad that I still have in its raw form, because so many of those scenes and ideas, I will never use even the idea of them, but they're special to me, and I'm glad that I have them written down and printed out over here. The way that I was jolted out of my May, April total slump of not knowing where to go next with this, even though I had all the head knowledge, I just didn't know what to do with this ginormous book, or the ideas there, or which ones to cut and which ones to save and to keep going with. The only way that I was able to get out of that was by talking to people, but mostly my husband. He is an absolute trooper. And through just talking out loud and brainstorming that way with another person who was actually invested, I got a breakthrough. And it wasn't a major breakthrough story-wise, but it was mentally. And then I kept coming up with ideas from there. And here I am now with pretty much a full plot. And I need to do some more research on some basic world building stuff, just so that I don't write a bunch of needless inaccuracies in. But I'm almost ready to start drafting again after starting in September of last year. And that feels great. So my goal with this channel is to share all of the things that I'm thinking about and processing and learning and implementing and saying which ones worked and which ones didn't. Have I been successful with my goals this week? Or if I failed, why and how can I get back up? And I want to share the experience of drafting and the things I've learned to maybe help somebody else who is a discovery writer attempting to put some structure into their ideas. So I've learned a lot and just want to talk about it. I want to explore and express myself and kind of take you on my trip of continuing this book project and hopefully finishing it. I have no doubt I'm going to finish it unless something catastrophic happens. The idea would be to finish this and put it away and start another story that I've had on my mind for a long time. And my plan is to do that by November. By NaNoWriMo, I'm going to try to write my new book. And I've been working on this one for a long time. I love it and it's going somewhere, and so I'm super excited about it. I haven't technically started it, but I feel like I've done all the work that is kind of daunting. So besides that, it's just the words, and I think we'll get through that okay. But after that, I'm looking forward to a new story on the horizon, and in the new year, hopefully get back to revising this one, but revising something salvageable, revising something that has structure and some real heart to it, some meat to it. Now that you've heard a little bit about my book project and my plans and my excitement for starting this channel and some of my goals, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself as a person, as a human being. So I am a biologist. I work with microbiology right now, but genetics is kind of the sweet spot for me. I love anything to do with genetics. And sci-fi, specifically with human genetics, is really, really interesting to me. And so I read a lot of sci-fi and have some sci-fi story ideas. The next book I want to write will have to do with genetics, and that's going to be a really fun challenge for me. Is kind of like using my degree and my job knowledge and putting that into the story. I love my job. I think it's super cool. I work in a lab, and while I'm at the lab, that's where I have all this time to listen to so much writing content. And so I just absorb all different kind of views on storytelling and world building and all that stuff. And then when I come home, I can hang out with my husband and eat dinner, and then he goes and studies languages. He is really obsessed with languages and he's really good at them too. And so he goes and does his language stuff. And then I go and I write, or I plot, or I plan, or I daydream, all part of the job. I'm pretty serious about this thing. So I am working toward a really definite goal of publishing. I haven't decided indie versus traditional yet. It'll depend on a couple factors that I will know more about when it gets closer to publishing. Obviously, I don't even have a live draft of this book, so that's very far off, but still very exciting to think about, especially because of all the progress that I've made lately. It really feels like I've got a story in my hands. Although hopefully I'm not jumping the gun, because inspiration is a fickle thing. No, we don't have to think about that. I think there's not much else to say besides stick around and we'll get to the writing content, the vlogs of me struggling through stuff and triumphing over things, and working through my issues and trying new ideas, and then creating a video with all the tips that I learned along each stage of the process. So hopefully this will be a place to talk about and celebrate creativity and struggle and success. I'll be posting weekly videos about creativity, writing craft, my writing progress, and all those wonderful things that us writers love. I'm really excited to get started. I also just think writing's awesome, and talking about it for extra periods of time to people besides my husband, I think will do me a lot of good. So I'm ready to get started, and I hope you are too.